We're going to do a quick walkthrough of the PT studio, training studio, and physical therapy clinic that I own. I think it'll be a really fun way for you guys to see what equipment I have, everything from bars, free weights, attachments, cardio equipment, recovery stuff for your own gyms, for your home gyms, lots of cool stuff. I'll show you what we use, what we don't use so much, and I'll try to recall exactly what everything costs so you have all the inspo you need to build your own space, to train your clients, or to train yourself at home. Why don't you come in and check it out? So if you have a clinic or you have a studio, you're gonna have people who come in to train. So there's gonna be waivers that need to be signed, paperwork that needs to be filed, all of that kind of stuff. I'm not a huge operation. I like to keep it simple. So we've got 4 trainers, 1 PT in-house. Everybody's super swamped. Like everybody works at least 35 hours a week with clients. So the people that are working are very, very busy. And that allows us to have a small space and honestly to keep the admin low. So we do 0 memberships. Like you cannot get a membership here. You're only here training if you're with your PT or you're with your physical therapist. So we have a pretty small kind of chopped down front office, if you will. It's just a desk running a Mac Mini on a monitor with a printer for waivers. Everything's super efficient, super easy. And then a very kind of condensed waiting room lobby area. It's Christmas time, so we have a little bit of like Christmas action going on here. Kind of fun. You know, depending on what you do with your clients, what you do with your operation, you may get a little festive, you may not. Believe it or not, one of the things that made a really big difference for the client experience that I would definitely recommend if you're thinking about opening a gym or even in your home training space is get the lighting fairly controlled. I'm not gonna open these because it'll blast the cameras, but these serve 2 purposes, these cell shaded blinds. They really dampen the light and create like a beautiful lighting effect if you're training in here. Like the lighting is really good. We'll go over the mirrors and the dumbbells and all that in a second. When clients and patients have good lighting and good ability to see themselves and they look good, it does create a really positive effect. And dampening the lighting with these cell shaded blinds, that was a huge plus for us. I didn't think it would make as big of a difference, but when they went in, that was huge. And then another thing that's kind of interesting is our building faces east on this front facing wall. So it gets hit pretty hard by the sun, especially in the like mid to early part of the day. And these really help keep the temperature down in the front half of the space. So very cool. Be sure that if you have windows in your training space, especially if you have a gym, that you have blinds that can control for lighting and can control for temperature. And then just super simple, we went with standard waiting room chairs. You've probably seen these in any physician's office, any orthodontist's office. Just a little like prefab wood spot here. These are just some client folders with some data. We have LMNT electrolytes. Thankfully, they sponsor me, sponsor the gym. So we have those for clients. People love those. Here's just like a simple, very kind of simple basic locker where we keep some of the like leftover coffee equipment. I'll get to that in a second. Clients love that. 2 bands, deodorant, like that's a must have if you're a gym owner or you have multiple trainers in the building. I know it sounds funny, but like I have 4 sticks of deodorant. We have some creatine and some pre-workout there. Gotta have that because you can't be smelling around clients. It's really unprofessional. Weighted vests are in here. And then belts and knee sleeves are over here. Up on top of the locker, we keep some stuff that we use quite a bit. Hip thrust bar pads. Do a decent amount of hip thrusting here, not a ton, honestly. Probably I've never done less hip thrusting with clients than we're doing now, but we still use these quite a bit. One of, if not the most used piece of equipment in the gym, actually, accessories are these yoga wedges. Use these a lot for group classes. That's why we have so many of them. Squatting, lunging, split squatting. These are absolutely amazing. They elevate the heels. So this is like a must have in my opinion for any gym because you can create space kind of organically. Like the width of these is generally speaking a great width for most people squat. It promotes ankle mobility, helps clients sit deep into a squat. These cost like $10. And the other cool thing is they come in other better colors. So like I have some pretty crappy colors. I'd love to get some black ones here in the new year that would match the bar pads. We also have these, which get used a ton. These foam pads, great for single leg balance work, great for kind of just making sure clients know where the bottom of their lunge should be. Amazing also to use as a hip thrust pad if that is not ideal for the client. So these live up here because they get used a ton in the front of the gym. Those are also around $15. Kind of surprising how much those get used. Nespresso pods, we have a ton more under the desk. 2 machines. You'd be shocked how much coffee we go through. Clients are in here training as early as 5 a.m. So we keep pods here for the big cups. Like I said, there's cups in here, pods here for the mini cups. Clients really like that amenity. We've got towels, we've got like electrolytes, pre-workout, creatine, coffee, and coffee is definitely the amenity we get taken up on the most. It cost maybe $500 to get both machines. One of them was actually gifted from a client, which I thought was super cool. And we spend maybe $200 a month on the pods, which when you disperse that out over the whole clientele, it's not really a big deal. And they love it. They look forward to it. I would definitely recommend in a small studio space, something like that. In the freezer, ice packs, looks like we have a frozen Gatorade. Interestingly enough, we have like a piece of king salmon in here from one of the clients that is really big on fishing. I might even take that home today. These are kind of cool. These are from a piece of equipment we have. It's a pneumatic cuff called a squid, and you wrap it around a joint. This is actually the shoulder. You can tell because you have like the rear delt, the anterior delt, the medial delt, and then down over the crest of the medial delt. So this goes over the shoulder. It hooks onto a pneumatic cuff, which creates compression. And when you combine that with the cold, it's pretty damn nice. We have ankle, knee, and shoulder for that, and that's basically what's in the freezer. And then the fridge is just lunch. So that's the front part of the gym. That's kind of simplified. If you're running a small op, I would keep it low key, but let's get into the big chunks of equipment now. Starting with dumbbells, we went dumbbells up to 100. And I will be honest, ordering from Rogue kept this pretty cost efficient. I think we spent about $4,500 to go from 5 all the way up to 100. And interestingly, when I ordered these, I did not do the counting in my head, realizing that if you go 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, all the way up to 100, the 2.5 increments stop at 22.5. So after 22.5, it's 25, 30, 35. Or actually, sorry, at 27 fives where the 2.5 stop and it goes in fives, we still had a bunch of open spots. And I think this is a good move for anybody running a gym. Maybe not as applicable for a home gym unless you're training with people. You're gonna need some duplicates. To fill out our rack and not have open spaces, we needed duplicates. So we have duplicates of the most used, which anybody who's trained for a long time will tell you. The 10s get used a ton. The 15s get used a ton. The 20s get used a ton. The 30s get used a ton, and the 25s get used a ton. So those are the sets we have duplicates of. 10s, 15s, 20s, 25s, 30s. Most used dumbbells, those are all duplicates. So this was a good grab for about $5,000. If you were at home and you wanted less, I'd say go 5s, 10s, 15s, 20s, 25s, 30s, and then maybe get some adjustables that can go up to 80. That you could get done for pretty cheap. For the mirrors, we went with some pretty high mirrors, and they're actually buttressed down at the bottom here with a piece of wood because these are so damn heavy, we couldn't just mount them to the wall. So they're mounted into the wall and then also on top of a nice little 2x4, which kind of just runs all the way across, and that's painted so you can't really tell. With your mirrors, you definitely want them off of the ground People are dropping weights, people are dropping barbells. That reverb goes through the floor into your base. And if you have a concrete base, that's gonna shake your mirrors if they're on the bottom. So these are elevated a good 2 feet off the ground. I think they're 7 feet. They might even be 8 feet. So they create a ton of space. We only went on this side because if we were to do it on the opposite side, it would create that weird effect of like seeing yourself forever and like mirror, 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 reflections of reflections. So we only went with mirrors on one side. These are custom. Glass is expensive, so I want to say these were like $3,000 to $4,000. Hard to go cheap on the mirrors if you're opening your own studio. Now, if you want mirrors at home, I would definitely recommend Lowe's or Home Depot going into their bathroom mirror section and seeing if you can find 3x6s or 3x5s. Those sometimes cost as little as like $79 to $100. They're smaller than this. They're probably like maybe that big, but man, you get 5 or 6 of those lined up at home, it'll make your space look huge. For benches, we went very simple. I do not do much decline benching. If I wanted to create a decline bench, I would just slide a bumper under the front here, and like a 45-pound bumper would give me all the slope I need to create a decline bench. But we went with the Rogue AB, I think it's 2.0, maybe even the 3.0, because there's different angles here, 15 degrees and 30 degrees, as far as like, okay, I can go from 0 to 15 to 30. That's kind of nice if you're doing any of your like incline work. Solid steel all the way through here. This thing would survive like a bomb, like nuclear bomb. You know, really nice upholstery. Rogue is something that I think people think of being synonymous with like CrossFit gyms or small studio gyms. So definitely durable enough for home use as well. Rogue's great for home. Another great brand is Rep Fitness. They make a great adjustable bench, but what I like about this is you have 90, 75, 60, 45, 30, 15. Your increments are laser cut, so you know where you're going. Most of our benching and overhead press work is done around here to like, I'd say right about here. I probably use this setting the most for my pressing. I find for most people this is good. I think with the wheels, these run about $800 to $1,000 shipped. We got 2 of them because there is quite a bit of training that goes on here where multiple people are using benches at the same time. But a very, very big fan of the Rogue AB model. For sure holds up in a commercial setting. Quickly, like just hidden over here, pretty underrated piece of equipment. This is a barbell jack. You actually like just lock this right under a barbell, click it in, and you can tilt it and it'll lift your barbell and the plates up. So this is awesome for hip thrusting or deadlifting when you already have plates on the bar to add more. We have plyo boxes here. Nothing special. Sometimes they sell these in wood, sometimes they sell these in foam. I don't hate them in steel. The thing you just have to be careful with is like if you take a shin to the edge of this steel box, you're going to bleed a lot. So these only get used with our most athletic clients for like jumping and bounding. The small and the medium get used a lot for squatting and squat regressions and step ups. This one doesn't get used quite so much. With plates, we went with Rogue's Flex plates. I really like these. The change plates are also Rogue. I didn't clean up from my last workout, so they're kind of just sloppily thrown on here. But change plates we have in 1.5, 2.5, and 5. Those are kind of nice. The reason the Flex are great is they just use scrap rubber from other products. So like the black bumpers and the green bumpers that they make that are super duper expensive in solid black, or the competition plates that are super, super expensive in solid green, they take all of that scrap rubber and melt it down into Flex plates, which are actually the cheapest plates on their website. I think they're really cool because they're beautiful and colored and they just provide a nice aesthetic. You can see across the way, we have them over there too. And it's like gray, blue, or gray, green, blue, gray, green, blue, and like the studio colors are cooler colors. We went with like a kind of toned down silver blue. The wood is like a deeper, darker wood. Even our white, like on the wall, has like hints of eggshell, so it's kind of warm, but the cool colors of these Flex plates are great. We have one set of 35s. I don't recommend 35s for pretty much anybody. They never get used. Same thing with 55s. I'll show you those. Those are in a cool spot. But these are dope. Best value you're gonna find for home plates or for commercial plates. I love them. These racks are dope. So these are Rogue Monster lights. And the reason we went with the Monster light is because they have a model that doesn't need to go into the floor. It's pretty easy to drill down into the floor if you need to. This rack works great because it's weighed down and doubles as our plate storage. And it has a couple other sweet functions. The first is this, I think probably 18-inch distension for a split squat mount. This gets used a ton. This is an awesome, maybe $200 addition for your rack that lets you come in here for your split squats. You don't need to keep a split squat stand. You don't need to like borrow from your bench, which to me is huge. Of course, the cross members here up at the top are pull-up bars. We never use the fat pull-up bar in the back. You could if you wanted to, because there is a little extra grip up here. It's a thicker diameter. So that would be great for making your pull-ups harder. Typically our pull-ups are done here. One thing I love is this is a great storage space for the physio ball. One on each rack. My personal favorite attachment in the rack is the hip thrust bench, which also acts as a rear stabilizer, which I thought was kind of cool. Anytime you have one of these quad posted racks, you can create some stability with your bar catchers here. Like if you're squatting heavy, we'll pull these out. But the rear stability is important. So instead of buying a rear stabilizing beam that was just steel, we installed these, I think they're about 400 bucks. It's a rear stabilizing hip thrust bench. So you can do all of your hip thrusts, all of your bridging inside of the rack, which is pretty dope. And it doubles as like rear stability for the whole system. There's a Bosu ball back here. This is probably the least used piece of equipment in the entire gym. No like bash on the Bosu. This is actually their Bosu Elite model. So it has like lots of texture. Some people would use this for like stability. You could use this for plyos. I actually like it for sit-ups because of the contour across the back, like being able to get a full flexion in extension in the spine. It just doesn't get used all that much. So probably something that in the future, like not gonna be buying too many more of these. Barely use the one we have. Not bad, but it's a tool in the toolbox. I think that was 180, 200 bucks. Probably wasn't all that worth it. The rack's probably about 1,000. 400 for the rear stabilizer, maybe 200 for this. Good value for sure on the rack and the plates. Don't remember what a full set costs, but that is the best value on Rogue's website for plates. This is a sick attachment for the Monster Light Rack. It's this tiny little piece up here, and this will hold like a punching bag, a heavy bag, but we use it to mount our TRX. And this is probably the most used piece of equipment in the gym. The TRX is fabulous. You can call it a suspension trainer too, but like fully unsponsored, TRX manufactures the best suspension trainers on the market. Anything else is completely inferior. I've been using these for over a decade. I never had a pair get broken or damaged to the point where a client got hurt or in any way had their workout affected, despite just getting tons and tons of use. This is their highest end model because the stirrups here are adjustable. Now you can use those for like foot harnesses for a lot of your core exercises. We typically use this for a lot of shoulder extension work. So rows, a lot of abduction, things like T-flies, things like Y-flies. We use it a lot for trap stretches across the body for clients who deal with neck stiffness and tightness. Tons of push-up variations get done on this, whether it's just like a standard push-up or a clock press. These get used a lot. These are really valuable for helping older adults who had like stability constraints work in the frontal plane on like a side lunge, maybe get some consistent, help on a reverse. You can definitely assist older patients and clients in and out of a squat with this. Best piece of equipment you can have for making your home gym fill in a lot of gaps, because like if you have mostly dumbbells in your home gym, you're really limited on how you can train your back and shoulders. Money, lots of variations here. Love that we have this on both racks. Looping around here, show you a couple other things. We have these really nice Rogue clips. These are expensive. I think these are like $60 for a pair. Again, we went with the cooler colors, a navy and like a gunmetal or a charcoal. These are spring loaded, so once they're locked on, like they're pretty tight, but the minute you flick them open, they pretty much shoot wide open, so you have to be really careful that you're not in the joint there when you open these, but really high quality. Those usually sit on top of the 35s, because like I said, the 35s never get used. This is a cool piece of equipment from Brett Contreras. This is old. I've had it for a very long time. It's just a drop down thruster bench. I've taken this with me from 3 different gyms now, ultimately to get it here all the way. I had it at home when I was using it at home. Great way to just allow people to train hip extension. And if I have to train hip thrusts and somebody's using both racks, this is how I will use this tool. Pretty cool piece of equipment. I think that one's like $200, maybe a little less. Getting to some of the big daddy stuff over here. This is my partner's space, doctor of physical therapy. I will say, if you can work with a qualified manual practitioner, massage therapist, chiropractor in your gym, that's cool. But nothing's gonna legitimize your business more than working with a doctor of physical therapy. I think of all of the different recovery style protocols, modalities, anything physician related, you're getting your best evidence-based recovery, injury rehab outcomes with a PT. So having him here is amazing. I don't want to just like go through his private shit, but this is where we keep the foam roller. This is where we keep the mat. Towels and laundry get done in here. You can tell. This is from a coffee that I spilled yesterday on my all white Rams jersey. And I was so embarrassed because we won on Thursday night primetime, and I literally like in the middle of the day just got excited and like hit my coffee cup on my hand on the way up. It spilled over my white jersey, and my client told me to go to the sink and rinse it off, and it came right out. But what I cleaned up from the floor, like all the coffee, all the stains, that goes in the hamper. The reason that's also there is like these pillows for treatment, the cases get switched out for every single patient. There's some Indian clubs here that are super cool. You can do some shoulder mobility stuff, KT tape, various different treatment like lotions, salves, Tough Skin for helping the KT tape stick. Like this is KT tape for those of you who are unaware. It's just good for having some like tactile feedback. I've got some low back pain, so I've got some going on right now. Theragun, that gets used a lot. That was probably like $300 many years ago. That's held up super well from Hypervolt, actually. It's not a Theragun. Cupping down here. These are cool for like training wrist extension, flexion. I like them a lot for overhead athletes, these weighted balls. These are cool. Again, cupping set, pneumatic cuff set. These tables are slick as hell. So these are pretty premium tables, and the reason we have these here is because if you're working on a patient, whether you're a PT, personal trainer, or a physical therapist, it's nice to be able to work around somebody who's on the table. And so we got these super premium tables from R Medica. And I want to say these were like 45, maybe even 6,500 a piece. I don't remember when we bought them, but they're expensive. But the reason they're expensive is because you could like lift a truck on these. Like they come fully down, and so depending on the level of your patient's fitness or what it is that they're working with, you can bring this thing all the way down to help them get on the table. And like if they have low back pain or knee replacement or hip replacement, being able to pick them up and then bring them up to you. This is not something that I do daily. If anything, I just work on my clients here who have mobility constraints, and we're just doing our mobility that's hard to do on the floor. I'll scoop them up, but Dr. Brandon will be with them here all the time, and the ability to lift and lower using these tables is pretty damn helpful. So those are slicks. Those are pretty high powered. Again, just like an eval area back here, super sweet moving desk. I like this a lot too because this allows you to just kind of, this somehow comes up. I think this is from Uplift. Uplift makes a really high quality desk. They make the lift at my house, but this will lift here. You can work with a client, show them a video. Dr. Brandon's back here all the time doing evals. This works pretty freaking cool to have like just a little mobile rolling desk. I would definitely recommend something like this. These I wouldn't recommend for PTs, trainers, like stay in your lane. This is more of a physical therapy chiropractor thing. And if you do have like a manual therapist, massage therapist, or you want to just have a table, you can get something a little cheaper. So the next thing that I think is really important at a studio or a gym is a television. I know a lot of you guys probably don't think this matters, but like you'll notice our patients face the television. So if you're done with your session and you're, just doing some pneumatic cuff work or some box breathing, or you're doing full-blown PT, and maybe like we'll use Dr. Brandon, let's say he has 2 patients and he's working on one and he's icing another, to be able to have them on this, visually able to look at the TV, it creates a nice experience. I pay big bucks to have YouTube TV here, which I think is the best service you can get. The secret to like having your gym space TV not be an issue is to only ever have it on sports. So like I only ever have the gym TV on sports. Never do I have the gym TV on news. No Fox News, no CNN, no MSNBC, no cable, highly politicized news. I worked at a 24-hour fitness for like 6 years, and at least once a day, someone would come up and complain about Fox News being on in the bathroom. Change that shit off. Can you turn this shit to this, turn this shit to that? So the only thing we really ever have on in this gym is football, basketball, depending on what's in season, or like NFL Network, ESPN. We keep it 100% sports. Have never had a complaint. I think it gives people something to talk about, something to look at. A lot of times clients will take a peek when their team is on, especially baseball. We're in like the heart of Giants country, Niners country. So this is a nice ad. It opens up the space, like it takes up some space on this huge white wall. I do think you have to have a TV in your gym. Does it have to be 85 inches? Not necessarily, but I really like having it. I think it's a great addition. Over here on this side, we have kind of what I would call like the functional rack. A lot of the rotational work, overhead work, ballistic work, power work, hip extension work, grip and grip tolerance work is done with medicine balls and kettlebells. So we have kettlebells that go up to 75 and medicine balls that go from 6 to 12. We didn't go super heavy on the medicine balls because typically we're thinking about moving these fast. So more weight isn't necessarily better. In many cases, more weight is actually bad. So a 12-pound med ball throw is a heavy throw. Like even for me with strength, I'm happy to throw like a 6-pound med ball because I can produce velocity. And for our clients, that works pretty good too. These are all powder-coated steel, but still you will find any powder-coated steel kettlebell is gonna fuck up a powder-coated steel rack. Like you can see like these have been beat to shit and they've been used a lot, but there's no way to keep these clean. There just isn't. Like, powder coated steel is great, it holds up, but steel on steel crime, like, it's gonna happen in your gym. I think these med balls are like 80 to 100 bucks a pop. Kettlebells obviously scale by weight. We got a great deal on those. I wanna say that the full set of kettlebells is only 1,500. This was probably also around 1,500. It's on casters, which is pretty cool, so it does move, like, but not easily. But if I had one of my buddies here, we could move it. Occasionally we do move it. But this whole setup, probably like 4,500, maybe $5,000. These I love, these little hamstring rollers. This is a super duper premium model. I don't know if you can see that on this side. Oh no, you can't. It's made by Sornex, who's probably the most premium manufacturer of fitness equipment. These are dope. We get two primary uses out of these. The first is, like, we don't do ab wheels, those tiny little wheels to train anti-extension. We use these because it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to have your shoulders in a more neutral space than in tight. That is badass. These use rollerblade wheels instead of like the shitty casters that you see on cheaper ones. So with how much these get used, even though this thing costs about 200 bucks, we have 4 of them for a reason. And Sornex actually fucked up and sent us 4 when we ordered 3. And honestly, they all get used, and these are amazing. So right here, the hips come up, slide in, slide out, slide in, slide out. For hamstring curls, you'll notice we don't allocate space for like a hamstring curl machine or a leg extension machine. That's just due to price and like how much we actually would use them. So those get a ton of use in place of like a hamstring curl. Very simple concept too, like probably the most used piece of aerobic equipment in the gym. 12 to 1,500 bucks for a Concept 2 rower. My favorite piece of aerobic equipment in the gym is the Echo Bike. I think these are like 800 now, maybe 900. Usually Rogue will offer free shipping. Cool thing about this, it is on casters, so you can pull it out and move it. I have got this with a wind guard because it produces a lot of wind, but I love this for sprints and low-level aerobic training. I think if I were to add aerobic equipment to the space, my first rule of business would actually be just getting another one of these because they get used so much. And like, fun fact, these are so durable. I have one in my house, and I was filming in my house with this guy who drives a motorcycle, and there was tons of slick, like wet ground, and something happened with the clutch, and the motorcycle kind of shot like 10, 12 feet across the garage into the assault bike, and it crashed, like an actual crash, and the assault bike was completely fine. So this thing can literally withstand a motorcycle hitting it because it is overbuilt steel. And this is actually Rogue's Echo Bike, I should say. It's not the Assault manufactured bike, who did popularize and kind of originalize this kind of flywheel style wind driven mechanism. Like, all your resistance on this comes from wind. So the harder you push, the more it simulates a sprint, the more wind you pick up. But this is the best one I found. This I use a ton, and I absolutely love this. And you'll see it's actually where we keep our super sweet 55-pound Rogue flick plates to weigh down the back of the chassis. This is a Torque M1. This is probably the best sled on the market for home use and for commercial use. My only knock on it is what I just showed you. I think it's kind of lame that this thing pops off. That's literally the only gripe I have. All the other ones were installed correctly. This one came kind of fucked up. It's so not important, we never fixed it. The arms do come off if you want to like detach it and mount it, but we use it so much, it's pretty much pointless. It has a gear shift, so on neutral, there's no drag. Level 1, level 2, level 3. We keep it on level 3 where there is generally the most drag. This gets used by tons of clients. So seniors, all the way from like athletes to seniors, because you can train triple extension, which is ankle, knee, and hip extension with this thing. You can train terminal knee extension by walking backwards with it, which has become really popular thanks to knees over toes guy. You can train like deep triple extension, really simulating like sprints and starts from the front. You can tow it. We have straps for it that actually allow you to do like some of your more traditional sled like towing. So a couple popular ones that I like are under the armpit towing. Of course, the old hoo-ha squat row, back step, squat row, back step. If you're somebody who's taller and you want to train again that terminal knee extension, and this just doesn't give you the space, you can train terminal knee extension like this. This piece of equipment gets used so much on the turf, which I'll talk about in a second, that we actually have had to replace the drive wheel twice. That is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like putting the drive wheel on this is very difficult, so I might recommend going to like the Tank M3 if you're gonna use this as much as we have. The reason I love the Tank M1 is it's super easy to maneuver. So I can just tilt this thing up, put it right back over here hella easy. And some of their four-wheeled models, albeit they do have two drive lines, so you're likely not gonna drive one wheel into oblivion. It's very hard to turn them and maneuver them. So that's space efficient. That gets used all the time. With the accessories, I think that thing was like $1,200 shipped. It is wildly, wildly worth it. We'll get to what's over here on kind of the mixed use rack in a second, but let's just go over what's in the barbell rack. Interestingly enough, this wooden dowel gets used so much. This is kind of a pro tip, but especially for like male trainers with female clients, like you don't want to be touching them all the time. You want to be appropriate and professional. And yes, you can always ask and be like, hey, like, are you cool if I, use my fingers to maybe like make sure that, like, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's actually hard, but you're like, can I touch the muscle I want you to feel? This dowel is a great way to be like, hey, okay, do you feel your glutes? Do you feel your hamstrings? Like, I'm touching you with a 4-foot dowel. I'm not like being a creepy, weird trainer. This is a great tool for male and female coaches alike to just create a little distance and make sure that you're helping your clients with tactile feedback, but not being weird. So this gets used quite a bit. I really like it. We have a cambered multi-grip bar from Rogue. I would take all these out, but it's a little slow. Like, this allows you to bench and row from different angles. Really like that. Pretty cool. That's about $400. This is an Eleiko Oppen trap bar. So it is a functional trap bar, an FTB. It'll tilt up on these nodules here for easy plate loading. It doesn't have the elevated handles that a lot of trap bars have. So this is exactly the height of a normal barbell on plates. So that's kind of cool. The only knock I would give this is it doesn't have that lift, and it was pretty freaking expensive. They just came out with the Oppen Bar 2 when we bought this. So it was like only $1,000, I'd say, shipped. And Eleiko's equipment is fucking amazing. So this is like the most incredibly sleek, beautiful bar. But for $1,000, it barely outperforms the just traditional trap bar that we have that was like $300. And so like, I think people like this more in general because of how compact it is. So that's one that, while I do love it, I don't think it's necessary. A couple of these just traditional Rogue Ohio bars. These are my favorite barbell. They're very well knurled. This is a black Cerakote finish. We also have a black steel finish. A safety bar, very cool for people whose shoulder mobility is limited. Absolute pain in the ass to move, I have to say. I'm not a fan of moving it. And then an easy bar. So just going priced out. This was about $400 for the cambered multi-grip. This was about $1,000 for the Oppen bar. Deal of the century. I got this guy from a local sports store. It was used, 100% solid steel, super high quality, very well knurled hex bar. This is like 300 bucks. 400 for the Ohio bars. I want to say about 500 for the safety, and I think 200 for the very well knurled easy bar. These were made by the same manufacturer, which is like Day One Fitness. Everything else is Rogue. The most used piece of equipment in the gym, other than the TRX, is the Free Motion. So I love this. Of all of the cable manufacturers, Free Motion has the best dual cable for sure. The stupid exercises on the thing are hilariously dumb. Like, nobody would do half of these. Like, you know, you have abdominal crunch. No. One arm tricep extension. Like, no. Just do two. Alternating row. Okay, I guess. Lat pull. Yes, that's great. That's why I have this at home. Chest press. Sure, but it's better to fly with this. Twist, which is just a wood chop. Okay, yeah, decent. Shoulder press, whatever. Squat, hell no. Standing hamstring, hell no. Low to high wood chop, yes. High to low wood chop, yes. This is one of the funny ones that what they put on here. And I'm not bagging on them because the equipment is incredible. I just wish that Free Motion would call me so we could redo the menu. But they call this one on here, I laugh every time, the incline decline press. Like, stop it. Nobody is doing that. Push pull, also crazy. Biceps curl on this, amazing. 2-person wood chop, hilarious. Like, these bros are talking to each other while they're wood chopping. Like, the picture is so funny to me. Like, 2 bros just chopping wood. Just like, hey bro, how's it going? And then the other guy's over here. So this is corny. I wish that this was not on here. That's like my only critique of the machine. I've never tried to pull it. I feel like it looks naked now, but I've actually never tried to pull that off. I'm honestly, I'm not mad about it. So we're gonna put that back up for now, but that, I might take that off and make this myself at like FedEx with some actual exercises that don't suck. But these are about $5 a piece, and they should be because they're damn well made. This is the Dual Cross Lite, which isn't at any point, like, none of the pulleys are different. There's so many pulleys on this that maintaining it is fairly easy because nothing gets like overstrained. But man, is this thing amazing for like training dual cable triceps. It's amazing for chest flies because of all the different points at which you can put the cable. The arms move in 360 degrees. So like, man, and you can tell I use it a lot because I can literally manipulate and put it where I want it with my eyes closed. But like, amazing for cable flies, amazing for triceps, biceps, shoulders, wood chops. You can do rows with this that aren't stupid. You can do lat pull downs, straight arm pull downs, all of your cable work that you oftentimes see people get a huge ass $15,000, $20,000 dual cage for. You can do it all here. For like, I think if you buy more than one, you'll get a deal. I want to say I spent $9,000 on both of these shipped, which is not bad for fully shipped, fully installed. I did pay like $5,500 for the one at my house, but that was like peak pandemic. This is my favorite piece in here. And I'm so happy that I got it in black because I have the gray one at home and it's pretty ugly compared to this. On here, we have some pretty fun toys and tools. An inertia wave. This was a gift from my client, Denise. Very cool. Just did like more relaxed battle rope. All kinds of elastic bands. We have this to help heavy or immobilized clients get up, to help seniors work with walking. This is just a strap. We have this thing called the 3D strap, which is for training in multiple planes of motion. It has a clip. You can like wrap it around yourself and work on rotation. That's cool for the golf clients. Of course, you have to have a jump rope. This is like Great for low-level plyometrics. Cardio, you don't have to be like a whiz kid to figure out how to use these with your clients. I kind of like it for group training, conditioning. That tank strap for the M1. We have the Mr. Infinity knees over toes dudes buddy toe strap. That's pretty cool. Another gift from a client. These are sweet. Totally lucked out. These are mobility sticks. We use these all the time. Great for stretching, great for adding support to exercises, great for mobility. That's why they're called freaking mobility stick. But they're normally orange. And for as long as I've known them as a brand, they've been orange and black. I wanted to get some, and I went on the website, and tell me why the other color they make now is like almost the same color as the freaking wall. So this was like a sweet find. And we never use the short daddy, I call it, but the big daddies we use a lot. But this one, again, decent way to just provide tactile feedback to a client. What this thing gets used for the most, that to me is kind of funny, but it like makes sense because all the dudes here golf, is in between clients you'll always see the dudes just like working on their swing with this thing, trying to kind of strike the match on the turf, which we'll talk about. I know I said earlier, tons of bands, mini bands, glute bands, therabands, the rest of the way. So the turf and the floor, these are like pretty expensive components. I'd say to do around 2,000 square feet of flooring and turf, it probably costs 20 grand. The flooring is, I want to say, a half an inch thick, might be a 3/8 of an inch thick. It's black with gray fleck. I really like that. I think it's tasteful. I've spilled coffee and shit all over it. You can't tell. I wouldn't recommend doing light colored gym floor. For the turf, sometimes you see gray turf, sometimes you see black turf, sometimes you see green turf. I wouldn't recommend too much white turf. Although we do have piping in hash marks in white, and it's really held up and stayed pretty clean. We have never washed this turf or scrubbed this turf. With turf, you can pick your pile, which essentially just describes like the density of these little microfibers that are supposed to be like your, let's call it grass, your artificial grass. When you're picking turf for a facility, if you're doing work on the floor, you don't want a rough pile. I've done a lot of work at different studios or even like workshops, weekend workshops, certifications, where the pile is so rough and abrasive, which is great for like speed training, but it just destroys your knees when you're on the ground with a client or doing a plank or whatever you might be. So we went with a really soft pile, and we actually went with regulation distance hash marks. So you got a full yard every hash mark, so you know each hash mark is 1 yard. And what's cool about this is it's like perfect distance for a walking lunge. It's perfect distance for a reverse lunge. You can do your hide-ins like hash to hash this way or hash to hash this way. I think it's about, well, let's count it out. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, first down, 11, 12, 13. It's 14 yards, so it's about 39 inches a yard, I think, or 36. That's 39 inches a meter, 36 inches a yard. So 14 times 3 is 42. So I'd say it's about 45 feet. That's all the turf space we've ever needed. I would go darker colored turf. If you're putting turf in your facility or you want to have turf in your house and you don't mind spending the extra bucks, go darker colored. That wheel would have fucking put marks all over green turf. I know it because I've seen it. Green turf is nice. If you're just doing floor exercises on your turf, go super low pile, go green, go whatever. But if you're doing sprints, plyos, sleds, all of that, I would go darker turf. I think it's a difference maker. That's just my opinion. Let's finish it up here. This is super simple, but I love it. The This is a Titan Fitness lat tower. This is considered to be one of the more budget-friendly manufacturers. I cannot tell you how high quality piece of equipment this is. This has been in use for 5 years. It has a weight stack up to 300 pounds, okay? This is a mag handle, which I love. It's better than the handle it comes with. There is a pad here, an adjustable plate pad here. This was only $1,500, fully shipped. This is an amazing piece of home equipment. If you want to upgrade your home training, this is the #1 thing you can buy in terms of getting your money's worth. Like, you're not getting a better piece. I think it's probably closer to $2,000 now, but like, you're not getting a better piece of back equipment than a lat pull down for like $2,000. And there's a foot plate down here that lets you do low cable rows. We just almost never use it because it comes out far and it makes it so that the person who's sitting down using it is on the turf. But man, this thing is a beast. Best piece of, like, the most budget-friendly lat pull down you can have. It totally works in a commercial setting. No need to drop mega bucks on a bigger one if you don't want to. Putting it together is a hoe. Like, it's so hard to build because the directions are kind of tricky. But once it's put together, again, it's like bomb-proof, really high-quality steel. This is probably the best piece that Titan makes. These pegboards are really awesome. This is what I use for cable management and mounting management. A lot of gyms just use like totes or buckets or these huge cumbersome metal towers that take up floor space, and I hate it. So on here we keep our traditional bar, we keep our lifting straps. These are huge. You should have these in any gym. Amazing for helping clients get more out of their lunges and RDLs. Ankle straps. These really cool handles that actually have like a little bit of ergonomic kind of hand built into them. This close bar attachment. This is another mag handle with a close bar. This is a plate loaded landmine, so you can actually take a couple bumper plates off of the rack and actually plug your landmine into the bumper plates. And so we work the landmine by like pulling a 45 or 2 off and just plugging in. That way it's not built into the rack. We did have a rack built-in landmine for a while, but it was kind of a tripping hazard, so we moved away from that. Obviously, a second free motion here. My favorite handles in the gym, I got these on Amazon. I want to say these were like 60 to 80 bucks. These are amazing. It's 2 singles. So like, these are the stock handles. Oops. That come with the free motion. These little D-cup handles, D-ring handles. Mind in the gutter, bro. These are great. I love doing dual rope extensions with these. Obviously they're 1 at a time, so you can do like a wood chop with these. Straight arm push downs with these. They feel so much better than, like, say, a V-bar or a traditional rope. This I quite like as well. Another kind of analog of the rope attachment. It has these super, super cool contoured handles. Super slick. We get so many positive reviews from clients on these two. As far as cable attachments go that most people don't have, I'm sure most of you have a V-bar, a straight bar, and a rope. Definitely a good idea to add these. This is kind of cool for clients who can't like really grip anything at all. Like maybe they have arthritis or hand problems. These are called Dumbbells. Clients always make inappropriate jokes about these, but like it's kind of like holding a couple coconuts. You don't actually have to like grip anything the way you do with the other two. You can just rest your hands on them. So for clients with wrist pain, forearm pain, elbow pain, this is good. Pretty cool. Same thing here, kind of like this. If you're not a gripper because it's difficult for you to not feel pain when like gripping stuff, these are really nice to go into just some kind of ungrasped tricep work or straight arm pull down work or face pull work for anybody with wrist, elbow pain. The last little handle is just another one of those hand articulating handles, like really cool for certain rows. The guys love doing their chest presses with these, but it rotates with you. You get like a full articulation, so it's amazing for curls. Chest presses, again, really popular for the clients. So there's like one or two small miscellaneous pieces of equipment that, you know, I think you might want to throw in a video, but we'll skip those today. Just kind of working through slowly just so you can get like a price point idea. This space right here, mirrors and dumbbells, let's say that costs $10,000. You know, coffee and front desk area, let's say that costs like $3,000 to $4,000 between chairs, lockers, water, furniture, coffee, etc. So this half of the gym, let's say it's $15,000. The turf and the flooring that I'm on, that's probably 20 grand. This is where most of your spend is gonna go. And I know it's kind of weird to conceptualize, but you gotta think, okay, this gets used more than anything. You're always walking on it, dropping weights on it, stepping on it, turfing it up. So I would not go cheap on your flooring, especially if you're starting a gym. Like the Tractor Supply stall mats that you can get for like $60 a piece, amazing for a home gym. You can lock those together, get some black tape, tape through the cracks, and it'll be a beautiful home gym flooring that's literally the same as this. But if you have a commercial like operation, don't cheap out on the floor. Aesthetically, people are gonna see that. I don't love that look. Go with something that has some fleck, go commercial, but that was a big spend. Plyo boxes, let's say that's like $200, $300. There's probably $2,000 worth of plates in here. And $2,000 worth of racks. So that's 40 grand right there. You know, the free motions are 5 a piece, so that gets you to 50. You know, the attachments in the lat tower, I'd say that's probably a combination of up to 3 grand. The bars, we're probably talking about 2,500, so you're at about 55,000. Tables, you know, 5 grand a piece, that gets you to 65,000. All of the aerobic equipment, you know, boom, boom, so 12, 12, 8, that's 3, so that's about 70, it's about 68 grand, and that's before taxes. Now that does thankfully include shipping costs. That's something that if you ever start a gym, you're gonna have to think about. This was probably about 5, the hamstring rollers, we have a couple of them. I'd say that gets you close to 70, 75,000. And you know, as far as the building lease and the space on that, you know, that's about $3,500 a month in a really expensive area for close to 2,000 square feet. The bathroom is in the back. That's not special enough to show you, but if you're starting your own gym or you're thinking about building out a studio, you know, to have the equipment like this, you're probably looking now at close to 100 grand. You know, this got opened in 2021, and stuff does cost a little more now. So imagine you want all of this stuff and a few of the things that we don't have, and I didn't go over the costs of like the computer equipment, the printer, any of the small PT things that definitely add up. Like I don't even think I priced in bars. So just like very small stuff that adds up, you're probably looking at 75 to 100 grand when you talk about moving, shipping, signing leases, etc. And thankfully, I was in a position where I didn't need to take out any loans to do that, but everybody's different. But it's definitely been a profitable space. I think if you want to borrow some of this stuff, have it at home, build a home gym with these kinds of tools, you could do it for pretty cheap. Like if you just wanted a cheap home gym and you wanted to do dumbbells up to 30 with some adjustables up to 80, a TRX, a Titan lat tower, a squat rack with a bar, with this, cross member for the hip thrusts, all this, all the plates, maybe even a free motion and some Tractor Supply flooring. I bet you could get that for like under 15,000. And so, you know, if you're training clients at home, you're training clients in the studio, it's gonna cost because steel's not cheap and shipping steel's not cheap, but I do think there's ways you can make it work. We could have spent way more money and bought a bunch of shit that we never use. But for the most part, everything we have in here gets used pretty often. I'll try to link some of the things in the show notes, or not the show notes, but the video description. But yeah, that's it. That's kind of what it takes to build out a gym for mixed use, physical therapy, personal training. This is more than enough space for 5 professionals who are training or with patients like at least 30 to 40 hours a week. And it works. I know this is a dream for a lot of you and you don't know how to start or where to start, but I think it can totally be done. And I hope that you guys don't, get nervous or think that you can't do it, but you absolutely can. And I would just say take it slow. Start by finding a space, or if you're working out of a garage, start with the stuff you'll use the most and you'll get there.